Hi everyone. Right, how to create this container, which is pretty much just a loft with a shell, and then it's got some handles. Just to remind you of what we dealt with in class, that I quickly showed you how to create a configuration. So I'm going to create a third configuration. I'm just going to call it 3. Right, and so that's my third configuration. I was practicing, so I put all my practice parts in a folder just so that I can hide them in one shot. And then I have a plane which I created. So let me start from where we were in class. I'm going to make this visible just so that you can see what you're doing. So if you click on a plane and you hold the control button down, you can drag the plane out to where you want it to be. And then you can type in the left-hand side in the properties manager what you want it to be. Okay, so there's my second plane. So I'm going to delete this one because we've got one already, which is this one here, which I've done in the same way, 65 millimeters. And then just to remind you that if I have sketches which I'd like to use from a previous item, I'm just going to suppress this whole folder. And if I want these two sketches, for instance, which I'm going to copy so I don't repeat the sketch process, I can just Control C. You have to do this one at a time. So Control C, I'm going to copy this smaller one, Control C, and then just reverse everything so that once you raise this bar up, whatever you do before it gets placed before whatever commands you've got that follow. You'll see how that works. So there we go. That sketch is now ahead of the command from which I've taken it. And remember in class I showed you that it places it on the wrong plane, and if it does that, it's very easy to solve. You click inside the the sketch in the design tree, you go to the second command, edit sketch plane, and in this case, because I've made this visible, I can select the plane. Okay, and then I'll show you what to do to get the your sketch to go straight onto the right plane. So let's click on that sketch, Control C, and now I'm going to select this plane and say Control V, and it'll place it on that plane. Okay, now I can see that both these sketches are not fully defined because they have a little minus sign behind them. So I'm going to just make sure that they obey my rules, and the easiest way to do this is just to drag this out to see what's not working. Is that horizontal? Yes, it is. All the dimensions are in place. So I should be able to just drag this and get it to snap to the origin point, and it'll turn black. Let me show you on the other one what the other way of doing that is. So let's edit this sketch. You can see it's not fully defined. I'm going to drag that out. You can select that point, Control or Shift click the second point so that you've got 2 points selected, and then just make them coincident. So I have 2 fully defined sketches. One's on the top plane, one's on that second plane that I've created. I'm going to hide this. And then it's a simple case of lofting this base. Now, what I showed you in the beginning was different slightly to what I showed you in class. So let me show you how that works. I wanted to go from this sketch to that sketch. And if you get something like this where your loft is not showing, that's because these 2 points need to line up. You can just drag one of them to the second point. Okay, now the way I got this thing to bulge at both ends is I controlled the start and end constraints of the entire part. So you don't have to select the sketch, I don't think. You can just go to start constraint. Normal to profile just means that whatever plane the profile is on, you can start controlling the curvature. As you can see, this arrow goes normal to, in other words, perpendicular to the plane that sketch is on. And here I can influence it by increasing this amount or decreasing it, and also by increasing or decreasing the degree. So 90 degrees, that's going to come right out from this plane at 90 degrees. That's going to create that bowl effect. So let's make that 2 degrees or 4 degrees or something like that. Not too severe. And then I'm going to go to end constraints and do the same thing. And there you see I've got a bulge in the top, and I can influence the amount of influence that I have. So that's how you do that. Next step is to put a fillet on this plane, which at the moment is 10. I think I want it a little bit smaller, maybe 7. Okay, and I don't want to make this too small because I want this to shell at 5mm thickness. So I want that to be larger than my shell, although that's not always absolutely essential. The next step is to put a sketch on this top surface, which is going to make the handle part. So I'm going to go to center rectangle. I'm going to click, drag without holding the mouse button down, enter in an amount. So let's try 100 for now. And then I'm not going to create another dimension. What I'm going to do instead is just connect one of these points to one of the edges. So make coincidence. And there you'll see it's actually connected. So now I can control the width of this bar by simply clicking in one dimension instead of changing 2 dimensions. So let's make this 110 and see what happens. There we go. I like that. I'm going to leave it as it is. Right, so exit. And then we're going to extrude that downwards. So at the moment it's up, going up. I'm going to change direction. And I want this to be the same thickness as my wall thickness, so that's 5mm. And if I were to leave this as it is, you'd see that there'd be a little bit of a face on that side. I want to get rid of that face, so I'm going to put in a taper and say about 20 degrees. I can see how much it's going to change, you know, how much it's going to interfere. So you can play with that if you want to get it a little bit finer. Whatever you do, if you say okay, just check that you don't have 2 faces connecting with one another, because if you do, this next step won't work, which is to put a fillet in on all of those points. So I'm going to right click, fillet, and at the moment that's at 7. So I want it to be about 20, not 290, 20. Hit the enter button, and then usually you would get this set of instant selection sets, if you will, once you do the first one. But in this case, it's only giving me the thing on the second click, and none of those selection sets suit me, so I'm just going to have to do this by hand. All right, and then we're going to put in another fillet over here of about 2mm. There we go. And once again, I'm going to have to select both faces. By the way, if you select a face, all the edges get selected around it. So just watch how you use the face versus edge select item. You've got this tangent propagation button, which helps you. Like for instance, if I want to select this whole edge, I can just select the one edge and it'll propagate because of the propagation along the whole edge. So obviously I don't want that. So I'm going to delete it. Okay, those are good. Right, then the last step is just to put, oh, sorry, no, we've forgotten the most important bit. I want to split this face into 5 different faces, 4 of which I'm going to use as a dome. So I'm going to click on the face, and then I'm going to say insert a sketch. I'm going to make a circle of about 13mm. And to fully define this, I want to define its position relative to the origin point. So there's my horizontal position, which I'm going to round off to 67. And then once again, its other position relative to the origin point, which is its vertical position. In this case, 25 will do. And we'll exit that. And then when we have the sketch, you can select it, or you can just go straight to this command. But with it selected, it's a bit easier. So I say split line. Make sure the type of split is projection. You'll see the sketch is selected already, and then I just need to select the face. Okay, so that'll split this face into 2 surfaces. And I'll show you why this is useful by using the dome command. There are a couple of commands that this will work with. The dome command is going to be the most useful. So I could select that item there, and you'll see it'll dome the face. But I could select the other face as well, and it'll also dome that face accordingly. So you got to check what result you're looking for, and obviously in this case, I want to dome that one. You can change the kind of dome. So elliptical will give you a sort of a more egg shape, and you can change the height. So I want about 3 millimeters. I'm going to say good to that. All right, and then I want to put, actually let's do this the wrong way around. So I've got my mirror command up here. You can find it under linear pattern mirror. And I want to mirror that one. First of all, it's going to ask you for the face. So you're going to need to go to the drop down, or the sideways drop down. I'm not sure what this is called ever. And find your plane that you want to mirror it about. And then the feature would be this item. So you'll see it'll do that. And this is going to give me an error. If I try and say OK, it's going to say rebuild errors. That's just because you need to have a geometry pattern in this case. And if I say yes, that's fine. Okay, this is not actually complete. I want a fillet in there first. So I'm simply going to drag that bar up so that now I can put a command in that precedes the dome command. 2 millimeters is good. And then when I drag this back down, I might get an error message. I do. So all that's doing is it's saying, well, you've updated, but you haven't told me which features you want in this mirror. So go back to the features mirror command bar and just select that item there. And there we go. Okay, and then we're going to mirror those across the other way. So I'm going to select my right plane first and then say mirror, so that the mirror plane is selected first. I always like it better this way because then you've got less work to do. And once you're here, you can select the features, but you could also just select the mirror, because it'll take that entire mirror and mirror it across the second plane. And it's giving me a rebuild, so just make sure that geometry is selected and say OK. And then last step, right? So I want to shell this, and it's going to give me something which I'm not happy with, but that's fine. And I want the shell thickness to be 5 millimeters, so I've selected 5 units in there, and then the face is going to be this one here, and I can say OK. And what it has done, it is done exactly what I've asked it to do. It shelled this using this fillet as the basis for the shell. That's because that fillet precedes the shell. So there's that. That's not that one. Where is that one? We can just select it in here. There's the fillet. And I might have to move both of these. So the beauty of the design tree, just to show you how this works, is you can drag a feature. And if it's possible for Solidworks to do it, it'll move that feature somewhere else in the design tree so that it does what you want it to do. So I want it to come after shell. So I put this little arrow. You'll see it'll say push that command to after the shell command. Let it go. And voila, it's done exactly what I wanted to do. All right, so I think that about covers it. In the next video, I'll show you how to create a mold from this. Thanks for watching.